Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session for the Plant Community Meetup. My name is Jason Drew, and Jill Harris is also on the line here, co-presenting today. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So just very quickly on the platform here, please keep your lines muted to reduce the background noise. We will have some time here for Q&A at the end, and at that point, feel free to unmute if you want to ask a question, or if you raise your hand and we call on you, we'll go ahead and unmute you. This webinar is recorded, so we upload these, and it will be available on a YouTube playlist when the session is done today. It should be uploaded within 24 hours here. So I'm going to do just a quick, brief intro of myself. So my name is Jason Drew. I'm a designated support specialist here with Autodesk, and I provide technical support for enterprise customers and in the Autodesk communities on the following products listed here. Previous to joining Autodesk, I spent about 10 years in IT support role at oil and gas company in Tulsa, and then did some P&ID design work for about 3 years at that same company. Before shifting over to the Autodesk plant design products, and I've been with Autodesk here for a little over 8 years now. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Joel to do his intro.
Thanks, Jason. I am, oh good, I'm unmuted. That's the best thing, that's the first step. I'm Joel Harris. I'm a designated support specialist as well. I work with Jason Drew here. We share some common background and some common products that we support there. I come to Autodesk with 23 years working for an oil and gas engineering company in Washington State, where I'm based. And I'm actually 6 years as an Autodesk specialist. I need to update my bio slide there, but welcome everybody.
Thanks, Joel. So the agenda today, we're going to do an overview to kind of give you an idea what these sessions are about. And then we'll have some Plant 3D news, just some general updates. The theme for this month is Navisworks with Plant 3D, and then we're also adding in BIM360 to that to show you some of the new features there available with model coordination on the cloud. Follow up on any questions we have from last month, and then open discussion Q&A at the end. So just kind of overview of these sessions that we have once a month. These are intended to be casual sessions with a short portion at the beginning where we provide some news around plant and information, general info, and then we'll have just a discussion around workflows, tips and tricks, things like that. Hopefully show you something new each month. And then towards the end, we'll have open Q&A so you can ask any questions that you want. So feel free to put those into the chat as we go along, or at the end there, we can definitely do some live Q&A as well. So I need to put this up here. This is our safe harbor statement. We may be making statements about planned or future development efforts on products and services. So these are not intended to be a promise or guarantee. And we just ask that you, don't use those for like a business decision or purchasing decision, as it may involve, product plans change and things of that nature. So make sure that you check with your product team before making kind of decisions like that. All right, so just going into Plant 3D news, a couple things we wanted to cover off here. The main one was around AU. So AU is coming up. We'll have one more session. In fact, it'll be the next Plant Community Meetup is the week before. The AU session starts on November 17th. So the registration is now open. There's no cost to attend. It's a live virtual event this year, but you do have to register to participate. So that'll open up on the 17th for the session to sign in. There will be different sessions around sort of a keynote speakers, things like that. The sessions will be available out there in the catalog. You can go through and view those as you can kind of pick and choose through there. And then those will open up sort of, follow the sun. So November 18th, then you'll be able to sign in for like the Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa regions, European time zones. Those will be able to show up there for the event as well.
I should mention here, Jason, that a lot of the classes are going to be recorded, and so you have the flexibility of watching them with your schedule, but there's going to be some sessions that will be live. Like I'm going to be on a panel with some other plant experts answering questions and talking about some different workflows and stuff around plant, and so those are going to be live, and you'd hate to miss out on some of those. because you just you came too late to the show. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that's true. So we've been getting questions about, whether or not those kind of classes will fill up. I don't know if there's a limit on those. I imagine there might be. There's also going to be some sessions, I believe, after the event's over, to do sort of like Q&A type of things. And I think those are going to be limited, so you may want to keep an eye out to sign up for those sessions and make sure you get into those. But for the most part, I think like you said, they're going to be live. You can watch them at any time and just stream those, or come back and watch the recording. So don't feel like you have to watch everything the first day. This will be out there available later time. And just going into some more news here about AU, I went through the catalog. So there's a conference schedule listed, and these are some of the plant classes that came up when I searched for Plant 3D. So it looks like some really good topics here. Like Joel mentioned, there's a panel discussion going on, information about using the new collaboration platform of BIM360 Docs, some reporting, isometrics. So really good topics to check out this year for Plant there. And then one thing we wanted to mention, this is kind of an older update, but there have been some changes to the Plant services, especially on BIM360 Teams. So if you're running a project on that platform and you're running Plant 2018, make sure that you install the 2018 1.1 update before October 11th. That way, well, it's a little bit late here on the timing of this, but basically want to let you know that you've got to have that update on there, because otherwise you'll have some issues connecting to the services. And there's an article we've linked to here at the bottom that kind of explains that, and where you can go and get that update installed. And one thing, main topic here we want to cover is just kind of a basic overview of Navisworks for Plant 3D. We're not going to do a demo of Navisworks today. There's plenty of those available online on YouTube and things like that nature. We do want to kind of cover the basics for people that aren't familiar with Navisworks and how it works. And then we're going to go into talking about how you can use Navisworks with plant projects on BIM360 and some of the new model coordination features that are out there. So Navisworks is, basically the application where you bring in your models, your DWG files from Plant 3D, and append those or attach those together to form kind of a main model, to do model reviews, clash detection, things of that nature. And when you do that, you're pulling in not only the model geometry, but all the metadata that goes with that as well. So when we talk about, creating a federated model, with Navisworks and why you want to do that. So it allows you to merge together different design models from all different disciplines. If you're getting models from other outside contractors, things like that, Navisworks can bring those in. It supports more than 50 file formats, so typically you'll be able to pull those in regardless of where the originating software. As mentioned before, the metadata gets pulled in with either a 2D or a 3D drawing. It's going to read that from the actual source file and pull that in, and you can use that for coordination, model reviews, bidding. There's some quantification features in there as well, so all of that can be displayed in the model. When you're working with this federated model, it's read-only, so you don't have to worry about damaging any of the files or making changes. It just reads that information in. So it's really a sort of read-only type of environment. And with Navisworks, it's often have to remember that you can use some password security and expiration dates on models. So if you wanted to give a model to somebody to review, you could put a password on it for security, or you could even set a date that it'll expire. So if they have a month to review it, it would expire after that time, and then they couldn't open it after that point. And then one of the primary features here is the file compaction. So when you import models into Navisworks, it's actually converting those into a special format that Navisworks uses, and it compresses all that data down. So typically the files are going to be much smaller, up to 80% of the original file size that you have. There are 3 different file types working with Navisworks. You have the NWDs, which are the main file of like an independent static file that you can save. So that's the complete model with all the data in there. But it also includes your overrides. If you change colors and things like that, you can save out to an NWD and get that to somebody to view. They could use Navisworks Manage or Simulate, even Navisworks Freedom. You can open those up and view those NWD files. Then you have an NWF, which is, you can kind of think of it like an XREF, or using XREF with AutoCAD, where you would bring in various models. The NWF is just maintaining those list of models so that you can open those reference files in one motion there by opening that file. Once you get an NWF loaded, you can save it out to NWD or what's called an NWC, which an NWC is like a cache file. So it's similar or the same as the NWD essentially, but you really can't save it. It's a locked file. It's just a cache file that Navisworks creates on the local machine so that you can open the models again and you don't have to wait for it to reread all of the data. It just pulls it from the cache. So those are the three file types you'll see when you're working with Navisworks. And one important thing we're going to talk about is object enablers. So as you're bringing in models from various Autodesk products and the AutoCAD vertical products like electrical or plant or anything really, Navisworks has to know how to read those models in. So you have to install the object enabler to the corresponding files that you're bringing in. So for Plant 3D, for example, with Navisworks 2021 and Plant 3D 2021, you'll need to make sure that you install the object enabler for anybody that doesn't already have Plant installed on their computer. So if you're somebody that doesn't use Plant, install Navisworks Manage and then install the object enabler, and they can open those models, and you'll avoid the situation like shown here where you may have pipe fittings or equipment that shows up as wireframe. If you see that, and to kind of troubleshoot that, you could open up the scene statistics from the Navisworks menu. So you drop down off the home tab there and bring that up. If you see something that says missing object enabler for application, in this case, for Plant, it would be PNP 3D objects, you'll know that there's an object enabler problem. And we link to the article here that helps you kind of troubleshoot that. You may have to uninstall, reinstall the object enabler. But typically you want to always have the same version, like if you're running Plant 2021, get that version for the version of Navisworks that you're working with there. And then talking about single user versus multi-user access for Navisworks files. So one of the things I often run into with the NWF files, it does offer multi-user access as far as opening the NWFs at the same time, but only one user can save the changes. So that can be a problem in a large work group where maybe you've set up some views and things, viewpoints, that you'd like, and you've saved all those changes, then somebody else comes along, opens that file, maybe overwrites your changes. So in an environment like that, recommend that each user has their own NWF that they save, just to kind of keep their own settings and things like that separate. And then the collaboration in that kind of environment would require you to export viewpoints, or if you're going to share those out with somebody else, then they can import those into the XML files that goes in and out of Navisworks. So that's one workaround for that environment. The one thing we found is that using BIM360 Docs with Desktop Connector is a little bit better method for multi-user access. So basically you're saving those NWDs on the cloud under BIM360 Docs. You can open those from Desktop Connector, and that way everyone can open it up at the same time and still save their changes, but it's just more of a multi-user type of workflow. So there is an option to do that with Desktop Connector. The other thing we wanted to show that's fairly new is using NWDs with this BIM360 Issues app for Navisworks. So that we've linked to that here. And if you go out to the App Store, I'll just pull this up very quickly here and show you where this is at. So on the App Store, if you search this up or use the link we provided, you'll see this BIM360 Issues plugin or application for Navisworks. So you'll download this and install it on top of Navisworks, and this will add a new window for collaboration. That's what we're going to kind of go through today here shortly. But this is the add-in that you want to look for to download. And pull this back over here. And basically what this is going to do, we're looking at clashes, things like that, or issues from either Navisworks or within BIM360 model coordination. You can share those issues back and forth. So even if somebody isn't part of your design team, they're outside the company, you can invite them into the project. They can open those models from their installation Navisworks directly from the cloud and see those issues that maybe have been assigned to them. Another thing that we looked at with this or kind of provide as a tip and trick is automated creation of the NWD files within the project. So basically, if you wanted to take your models are updated, you want to refresh your NWD files for Navisworks. So one method you can use is BIM360 with Desktop Connector. So you can use the batch utility for Navisworks that is available when you install Navisworks. And basically what you're doing is you're taking the models that are stored up on BIM360, you're opening up the NWF files on a regular scheduled basis and then saving those NWD files to refresh those. And you can do that through, Task Scheduler, or, the actual batch utility can do that. But this method here for cloud storage is one thing we wanted to point out, because it is something that you can use and take advantage of going to the Docs platform. And when you're doing that, basically you're either using the graphical interface here as option 1, where you're going through the batch utility, setting up the files that you want to update, and creating that as a scheduled process that runs. So maybe you want to update your models nightly and refresh those, or maybe even midday. You can do that using this method. And we've linked to several articles, mainly on the Navisworks help section, that explain how to go through this and set up the process, and even create like a log file if you want to check that on a daily basis. And beyond just the user interface, there is a method to do this on the command line. So basically this is the list of the command line switches you can do. One of the things you'll need to do typically is pull a list of all the drawings or even, files that you want to update. And you can do that through a DOS command to get the initial text file created that you'll feed back into the command line here, and tell Navisworks to launch and open and regenerate the NWDs for these files. So there's several options you can use here for the command lines. Just want to point out that is an option, and a lot of customers have done this, to automate things. So kind of moving on into the, Navisworks with Plant and adding BIM360 into the mix. Now that we have the ability to not only use the plant projects on BIM360 Docs, it also opens up the possibility of using the model coordination there. So like I mentioned before, you can create and assign issues directly from in Navisworks using that issue plugin, or you can do it from BIM360. There is clash detection within the cloud that's similar to what you would get through Navisworks, but it is automated, so it's going to automatically go in there and run that clash detection. If you upload a new model, it's going to automatically refresh, so you can check on a regular basis, where your clashes are without having to go through and run a clash test again. And basically, this is kind of a common data theme environment across the whole coordination process. You've got the same metadata that you get pulled in through Navisworks. In fact, the cloud right now, or the BIM360 model coordination, will pull in all of the data, including some of the additional BIM properties that you may not see inside of Navisworks. And basically, this is just giving you a way to access your models, directly from Navisworks. You can go into Navisworks, open up these models directly as well. So we'll take a look at that too live in the product here. This is the general workflow here, where you've got your piping designers using Plant 3D. They've got a project on BIM360 Docs. They're checking in, checking out drawings throughout the day. You're going and reviewing those models through the coordination space on Docs. You're using Navisworks for the checkers to go in and download those, look at the issues or assign new issues, and close those out or assign them back to the people who need to fix them. And then you've got your model being approved and then copied over to the project coordination space. So this is using some of the document workflows within Docs. So we'll kind of go in here and take a look at this and see what this looks like. So I'll go ahead and bring over browser window. Now I'm logged in here to BIM360, and this is the main project page that comes up. This is just the insights page off of the main window here. This is just giving you a summary of your project. You can customize this in any way you want. There's ways to track issues in here, RFIs, any of the main issues with your project. You can watch and see these really easily off of this main page here. Now, if I go over to document management, this is where your main project and your drawings are going to be stored. If you have a collaboration project, and I've got one here that I've uploaded the sample project into a folder. This is the plant project here. The models are stored in this folder here. As far as the 3D models, you can go in here and view these. If you want to just click on one, it's actually going to bring up the viewer. And you can look at these in the cloud here through the integrated viewer. Let's switch to 3D mode, or 3D view here. And then similar to what you do in Navisworks, you can see the model. You can click on individual items and check the properties and things like that as well. So if you click on like this, it's going to give me all the additional data here, down to even the nozzle information. So you can do that at any time with a project like this. But what we were kind of look at today is how this model coordination works. So what I've set up in here is a coordination space. So I've got a folder here where I've got the models from Plant 3D being copied over here to this space. And essentially what I'm doing is saying that this is the spot where BIM360 model coordination is going to read the drawings from. So these are like the issued drawings or the most current drawings. And what you can do is set up a review for your drawings. So let's say I wanted to come in here and issue this for review. I could actually go in and set up a process for that. So let's say I want to go in here and do let me find the one for this here. I'm going to submit this for review. And there's basically a workflow that you set up for this. So I've got one set up here for IFC review. So I'll select that, and you can have multiple review steps to go through, and you can configure these however works best for you. This one's just a two-step process. So there's going to be two people approving it, and then the document will be approved and then copied over to that coordination model folder. So if I go through here and select that I want this approval workflow, I've got this one document, I'll go ahead and submit this. It's going to ask me, who do I want to review this, so I can notify them via email. I can notify other project members if I want to do that by either individual users, roles within the company. Maybe I want to copy in the piping lead on this and let him know, or let them know about this. I can put a note in here. Then I'll go ahead and send this. And what that's going to do is it's going to send out an email. It's going to put that out for review on the list, and then they'll come in here and basically check this open review that's pending. So you click on this here, the reviewer will come in, they can start the review process, and at this point they can go ahead and check the model, take a look at what's been requested to review, look at any issues, or actually assign any issues if they find something that needs to be modified in here. And that's where we're going to be tracking and going back and looking at issues on either within here or within like Navisworks. So I've already got one in here that I've set up. Now, if I want to create a new issue, I could still do that. Let's see here. I want to go back to create an issue. And I can zoom in here and just pick where I want to put this location. Now I need to go back to a 3D view real quick here. Let me go back into this. Sheets and views. I'll go back over to 3D real quick. I'll let that load up. So I can go back here to issues, and I'll go ahead and create one, and I'll just click over here somewhere. Let's say on the steel here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this and say this is check steel connection. And I can assign this to anybody, users or roles within the company. I'll just go ahead and assign this to Joel. We'll set the due date for Friday. And then we can also select a location if there's a certain location within the plant or facility. And you can customize this as well. This is fully adjustable here on the drop-down list. And on the details, I'll just say this is on the south side. And I can select a root cause if I want to put something in here for more, more description here, a note, please review, you incorrect. And then when I create that issue, that's going to save that within the project here. And so that's going to be tracked, and I'll go ahead and back out of this and then go into Navisworks, and we'll kind of show how this works from this side of things. So I have the BIM360 issue tracking loaded in here, the add-in. I'll go ahead and open that model. I'll go ahead and close out what I have. And I will go in here to this one, and I will load up, let's just do the first one here. It's going to stream this down. It's going to download it from the cloud. It's really not saving anything to my local machine, but it is pulling this down to where I can view this in Navisworks. And if I go up to the ribbon bar here and click Manage Issues, we're going to see the issues that are assigned to this, and you can filter and look for the ones that are assigned to me or a certain department. And this one in particular is not, let's just see here. Maybe I'm missing something, Joe. I may have missed a step. If I want to view this issue that I just issued to that, I need to go back and pull that up to a certain model, I think is what it is.
Yeah, I think you need to open up the model that's in, because make sure you're in the same coordination space.
Okay.
Yeah.
which we're in here, and this one, and it should be this coordination space. And it might be that I had made the view, or the issue went to the wrong spot here, because I'm doing this through a review and not through an actual.
Yeah, it's not actually copied until you actually submit your review.
Okay, let me do that.
And then the file gets copied to the new folder in BIM360 docs, and then you're actually working in the coordination space.
There we go. Okay.
So now it's and then the approval on that. Have we done the approval of that?
No, and I should mention that it was set to go to use. So you may have to click in there and
Okay, I'll do that.
Approve that real quick.
Okay, you bet.
Unless, I don't think it'll let me go ahead and do that here.
Nope, you're not the guy. So there's some control and some security there, which is kind of nice. And while we were actually doing this demonstration, I was taking a look at just some of the properties that are in BIM360 with Plant 3D. You get quite a few more properties when you open up a. Let me just submit this as approved.
Yeah, so when that's so what Joel's going to do is approve that, and it's going to copy it back over here to this. Well, there it goes. So it's refreshing now.
Yeah.
Give that a minute to update. So that shows it's approved and in there. And I've still got should have issues tied to that though. Let me just double check. So yeah, I've got that in here. This is a linked document, and so let's go back. And if I refresh that here.
For some reason that issue didn't come across.
Yeah, it should be this one here. Okay, reopen that one. Never works right when you're doing it live.
Well, I've had the same thing. Sometimes it works right and sometimes it doesn't when I'm doing it live. But
yeah, so this one, that's my coordination space. That's the model.
yeah, it's not allowing you to open it right now.
It may still be uploading.
It's probably because it's in the coordination space and it's also doing the clash detection with
it.
So.
Okay. So let's look at this from the other direction. If this will let me open up maybe a different model here. Just go into the steel model. Because it is two ways. You could do that, you can set up issues from within BIM360 like I was doing there, or if I come in here to Navisworks, I can also create an issue. So it's a similar interface when you come over here from Navisworks. You'll click to place a push pin of where you want the issue to go. And just let me click on something here, but go ahead and tag that. Let's just say this is a test issue. Assign it to myself and Joel. All right, assign it to Joel there. And then we'll do the date on it, location, and we'll just say design coordination and create that. So that's going to save it here, but it's logging it up in the cloud. Once that, give that a second to save that and upload. And then if somebody, didn't really have access to Navisworks and they were just using the cloud here, they will see that under the issues section. They can still view that where I've placed the push pin, and the details like this right here is the one I just created from the Navisworks side of things. So you can set the status here after you've checked it, whether it's answered, closed, or void. And if we want to go in and actually look at these models, let's see here. There's a screenshot. And apologies because this is a little bit new to me. If I go into this one, Joel, can I get to the model directly from here? Because I've always gone the other way. Do I just go to link document? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, yep. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's going to show me that issue number 3 that I created and then bring me right back to the view. So this is a way to go kind of back and forth regardless of which platform and view these. So I just wanted to kind of show that today. It's fairly new. And the nice thing is if you're already using Plant 3D with, docs here and you've got your models already syncing up here, they're already going to be there in the cloud. There's really no requirements as you have to use the, a collaboration project with this. You could technically upload, create a coordination space and define that and then upload your drawings in here and do it that way. But with Plant 3D synchronizing here, and using things like the review workflows, it just works really well because everything's already here in the cloud.
I'll just mention what I started to talk about earlier with the if you work in the coordination space with Navisworks locally and you open up a plant model, you actually see quite a few more properties than you would if you just opened up the plant model in Navisworks if it was
Mm-hmm.
local. I also noticed that when I didn't have an object enabler installed on my machine, um, it would still display all of the objects properly from BIM360. Now, I haven't tested out all the details on that, but it's nice because even if you don't have the object enablers for plant, if you've got Navisworks installed and you open up that coordination model, then you see all of the objects properly with all their properties. So
if I was to choose like the objects here, I would actually
yeah,
get, oh
yeah,
yes,
see all
okay,
this.
wow.
It's quite a few more. So when you're in the cloud viewer of the 3D model, you see quite a few more properties, and this is the properties that you're seeing in
Mm-hmm.
Navisworks as well.
So yeah, and I think that's a little bit of a discrepancy or limitation of the object enabler for the desktop app versus when you're funneling these to the cloud, it's being processed in the cloud, which it reads more of the data, and that comes through with this method. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a link that we're adding in towards the end, one of the final slides that explains how to go through and upload these models and then take this metadata and export it out so that you could load it into something like Assemble and get all of these properties for, say quantity takeoff or something like that. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot that it does pull in some more information. The other thing I wanted to show just briefly here back inside BIM360, if you go to, or if I go to this module up here and switch over to the actual model coordination, back to this area here, the clash detection that's in the cloud, if I go over here to clashes, it will give me a clash matrix of everything that's been uploaded. It's going to tell me the last time that it's ran the clash check, so it's updated today for me automatically. But anytime you upload a new model, it's going to check across this matrix here, whatever's been updated, and then these numbers will change if something has been, if there's more clashes or if they've been resolved. So this is really nice. You really can't get something like this within Navisworks. So visually, this kind of shows you the hot spots of where most of the clashes are. And as you go through, start reviewing these, closing them out, accepting them, or saying that they're accepted, those will start to go down in numbers. But for example, going in to look at the clashes here, maybe I want to go through and take a look at my piping model versus a steel. And I can see here there's a pipe issue. So maybe this pipe here is clashing, and you can see it's highlighting between green and red where the issue is down the line. It's got 5 clashes across here. So at this point, I could go ahead and assign an issue to this, similar to the way I did before. Set up an issue for that, and then it'll go ahead and put that into the list. And I can pull that up into Navisworks and view that as well. So it does have the option to do that as well from this side of things. So really helpful if you're going through and managing a large group of clashes and you just want to do that from the cloud here. And then views as well, like I've got a couple of views set up here. If it's just basically you want to set up a certain area with certain models attached, you can do that, save it to a view, and then when you go into Navisworks, you can open from that as well. If I want to go here, instead of open from a particular model, I could say, okay, I want to open up a certain view, and maybe I've got like a main model view up there that I would want to open. So those do transfer across here with the issue as well. And just kind of know when these download, there really isn't an option to save these out to an NWD. I think that's more of a security type of thing where if you're giving somebody access and inviting them to the project, they can view here in Navisworks, but they're not going to be able to save this off to an NWD or anything like that. They can view in here, but really all they can do is look at issues, things like that as they're going along, but they can't really save it off to anywhere. All right, so let me go back here to the slide deck, and we've linked over to, there's a really good demo of this, much better than mine. Going through, there's a 50-minute webinar that goes through the whole process of taking models into BIM360, setting them up, and then going over to Navisworks and sharing those out. Because one thing you can do, like I said, saving the NWF files, you can share this with a team so that if somebody else wants to open it from Desktop Connector, you can do that as well. So that's one thing that you can do. Another advantage there is not having to save it locally and have it available to anybody on the project team. And so that's hyperlinked down here at the bottom, so you can get to that and watch it at any time. I think you do need to log in, but once you're signed in, you can watch that video. And so just wanted to pause here for a moment. I think we'll go ahead and do some Q&A. Also want to note that we're working on updating the plant community resource store. So for today, for this handout with all the hyperlinks, if you want to go ahead and click on the GoToWebinar handout section, you can download the PDF file that'll give you all the hyperlinks here, just so that you have it available as of today. And let's take a look here at the question boxes.
I've been answering some questions in the
okay.
chat. There's some good ones coming in. Questions about the object enablers and the custom fields. One thing I do want to test is creating custom fields and seeing if they show up on the BIM360 viewer. I have not tested that yet. And if they do, then that means they would probably come through to the Navisworks desktop, hopefully. But once again, I have to test that. One of us will.
I want to say they do, but we can double check that. Yeah.
That would be awesome if they do. One thing that was just asked by Renan, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, Renan, but I apologize if I'm not. But just basically, when you set up a coordination space, we do recommend that you create a space that's dedicated to be a repository folder for design files that are being copied into that folder, either manually or through that review process that we just showed you. We don't recommend that you create a coordination space that's in your Plant 3D working project folder, just because there are things happening with those files, and we want to make sure that your Plant 3D database keeps in sync with your project folders on there. So keep these folders that you see there under sample project separate from your coordination spaces, and that way you'll be working with Plant 3D and BIM360 in this project folder structure, and not actually coordinating on the live models that you're working with. So
yeah, so these over here in the coordination model folder is separate, and they've been issued for review or issued for construction. They are like the current latest models, and you'll see the versions here that as these update. But following the process here of going through and like Joel stated, issuing these for a review session, and then when those are approved, they'll be copied over to this folder. Kind of keeps them separate and just more manageable that way.
Yeah, and you are tracking the revisions separately in the different folders too, which is nice.
And it is possible, I could just kind of go in here and show you, it is possible to create multiple coordination spaces. So if I go to model coordination settings within the project settings here, I can create as many of these as I want. And you can see I've pointed this over to just that subfolder, but you can have multiple ones in here if you want to keep things, keep teams separated, or different areas of the project, things like that. It's definitely flexible for that.
Yeah, I created one where I had a piping check folder where piping models were brought together, and checkers would collaborate and mark up issues in the piping folder. And then once they were ready for group check or squad check or interdiscipline check, or however you term that phrase, then you could then put it through another review process that moves them into that coordination space for all disciplines. And so you can use multiple coordination spaces in the same project. And I did answer a question there about the copy being set up to be automated. It's automated through the review process if you want it to be. Reviews can not copy files, but you can also set up Forge to do any BIM360 doc file movements based on some other triggers.
Let's see. So there's another question here about the coordination space and whether or not it can be if it can be Plant 3D, Civil 3D, and other models. And I believe there's really no limitation on the type of models you upload in here.
Yeah, I mean, you could I have one that's got Revit models and Plant 3D models, but anything that's supported by the BIM360 document management file store, as well as the viewer, can be clashed against, as well as issues clicked on. So, for example, I know some people that use smart plant models, and they can bring those up, the view files, into BIM360 and do their clash detection against it, assign issues, and even review them in Navisworks in the desktop. So.
Yeah, and if you wanted to exclude some drawings or models, you could do that here. or turn them off and hide them. If I had some other models that I really didn't want to be clashing against, you could do that through the settings here. But yeah, this, once I start assigning clashes, those will go in here. The ones that are closed out and complete will be over here. So that is flexible in the types there. Let's see if any questions here, if anybody has their hand raised for a question live.
I don't see any.
Yeah, maybe answer, and appreciate you answering those questions, Joel. We're all caught up on this. Let's see. So there was a few, additional resources are available. So there are some additional slides here. Wanted to just kind of roll into this one here to show you. There are some links here that we talk about, Navisworks and Docs workflow with federated models, mapping desktop connector, to an independent path. This is more of getting along the lines of doing some custom scripting, or if you want to copy some files back and forth, this is a way you can kind of trick it to where you can change the path where it's normally stored. This is one that we're linking over to for the next slide here, talking about the properties where just by default, if you load a plant model, you'll get some of the properties. If you save a DWFX file out of plant and take it in Navisworks, you get a few more. And then if you go through the BIM360 model coordination process, you get all the ones that we looked at earlier. And so there's a write-up here that kind of explains just a workflow of going out of Navisworks once you load all of these properties in and taking that into Assemble through an Excel export and import. So out of Navisworks to Excel into Assemble. So really good article there to check out here at the bottom.
So that's a great comparison side by side there of the three different sets of properties. And I bet you what we're looking at in BIM360 is more like that right column there. So.
Right, and it's kind of like under the safe harbor statement that the expected in maybe Navisworks 2022 that this would be updated. Maybe the object enabler or the file reader for plant drawings will be updated to include more of these properties. All right, let's see if we've got any questions here. We've got a little bit of time left. And do you have a question? Looks like
Victor has a question there, and I think I'm going to answer it by saying that a tool should be used for the right purpose. And I know there's a lot of companies out there that don't need a large data-centric integrated plant design solution for what they're doing. A lot of maintenance projects. They really require the 3D accuracy, the ability to interface with a reality capture tool like laser scanning, and to be able to generate isometrics without the large overhead and administration that's required for some of these. So when you ask the question about how to sell Plant 3D or how to use Plant 3D in different environments, it really depends on the type of projects that you're trying to work with, and you want to use the right tool for that. So hopefully that answers that question. I mean, Jason and I are technical support people, so we're not salespeople, but we play one on TV, I guess.
Yeah, definitely take a look at the project scope first, and make sure that it's appropriate for plant versus what it can handle complexity wise and the number of lines and everything you're going to have in there.
Yeah, I have customers that use Plant 3D when they know that the construction packages will be coming out, at unpredictable times, or they want that flexibility for a mid-sized project. They'll allow Plant 3D, which doesn't have the rule constraints on data, so they can actually, you don't have to wait till the P&IDs are approved before you can generate an isometric, for example. So. All right, I think that's all the questions I have there, Jason.
Yeah, all right. We'll go ahead and give everybody some time back. Yeah, I appreciate you joining today and look forward to the November session. And we'll be covering some topics there that are aligned with AU. But yeah, talk to you next time then. We'll go ahead and close out today. Appreciate everyone joining.
Thanks, everybody.